What up, what up? Welcome on in to Inside Baylor Sports, the official daily podcast of Baylor Athletics. On today's show, we talk Baylor basketball and the transfer portal. Two recent pickups for the Bears with Jeremy Roach on the men's side and Aaronette Vonleh for the women. Plus, we discuss the NCAA Division I tennis championships that'll feature both Baylor teams this month. Don't forget, you can catch Inside Baylor Sports every weekday. You can also watch the video version for free over at BaylorPlus.com and on the Baylor Athletics YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, rate, and review the pod. And follow Baylor Plus today on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. It's the official content network of Baylor Athletics. Think Netflix for your Baylor Bears. Download the app on your mobile device and sign up for your free 7-day trial today at BaylorPlus.com. It's Wednesday, May 1st, 2024. Justin Hoff alongside the Baylor Bear insider, Jerry Hill. Jerry, it's May. We made it to May. These are like the dog days of the year in college athletics, but we made it to May.
Who would have thunk it, back in September or August or whatever, that we would still be here and still producing these great episodes of Inside Baylor Sports, how many ever months later. But yes, we made it. We're here. We're in the stretch run, and I do feel good though. Like I feel like we've had a good year with Inside Baylor Sports. So I'm sorry that I've had to work with you as much as I have, but other than that, it's been a great experience.
Yeah, we got through it together. And looking forward to finishing out this month. The month of May for college athletics here for Baylor. And we got a chance to get to know Baylor men's basketball's latest transfer, Jeremy Roach, in an exclusive interview. Take a listen to a few minutes of that conversation and check out the full conversation over on BaylorPlus.com.
I got to be honest. So I'm watching the Duke Baylor game back in December. We don't want to go through it too much because I was real sad at the end of it. But I'm watching the game, and I'm a big college basketball guy. You'll get to know that. But, man, I'm like, Jeremy Roach, this Roach dude, he's really good. I've seen him play some other teams, but seeing him play Baylor, I'm like, man, he got another year of eligibility. I'd love to see him in the green and gold. And sure enough, you're coming this summer. How excited are you to join Baylor?
I'm super excited. This is a opportunity that's when I first got in the transfer portal was really no thought. It was Scott Drew and the fam and the coaching staff and everybody around it was just kind of just showing me so much love and just the enthusiasm they had of me. And like you said, the coincidence of us playing y'all last year and then me actually being a Baylor Bear this year. So it's kind of funny. So I'm super excited for everything in Waco. Super excited for the fans. Super excited just for the team, just to get out there and just to see everything. So.
And it's almost becoming normal, right, that you play teams and with the portal and how crazy it is. But did that familiarity help in any way to make the decision a little easier?
I did. I'm very familiar with the Baylor program. I've been watching them since I've been in college. So always been a fan of their play style. So when Coach Drew called me, it was kind of a no-brainer. He wanted to help me out personally, and I know he takes care of his guys even when they're playing and even when they're not still with him. He's always taking care of his guys. So that was a big thing culture-wise. And like I said, culture-wise too, this Baylor has such a strong culture. So I wanted to be a part of that too.
Again, you can check out the full conversation with Jeremy Roach now exclusively over on BaylorPlus.com. Had him for about 13 minutes. The link for that is in the podcast description for this episode. Jerry, just hearing him there, he's 22 years old. He's played 130 career games at Duke. He's played in 11 NCAA tournament games. He's played in a Final Four game. He's a 5-star, All-American, was a McDonald's All-American. This guy's got some serious credentials, and he's coming to the Foster Pavilion next season.
Yeah, it's exciting. You're not getting just, Joe Blow off the street or even, a great player at a, maybe a mid-level or something. Not that those aren't great players too, but this guy's coming from Duke. That's that in itself. He's played at that top level, so he knows what it's about. Hadn't played in the Big 12 yet, but obviously he's prepared for it. Like he will play. I'm sure he's played this kind of schedule when he was at Duke. But yeah, I'm excited about it, Justin. I'm trying to figure out if I could pull off that hat though. I would like to maybe see, maybe he'd let me know where he bought it, or, where I could get that from, and see if I could pull off that hat.
We don't need you in that hat. He's got some style to him. He talked about he makes beats, and so his family has got a lot of history in the music industry. And so a couple summers ago, he just kind of took it up, and so we're looking forward to incorporating some of those beats on Baylor men's basketball social media. But yeah, he's just a high character guy, a veteran playmaker. You look at his numbers last season, really strong, averaging 14 points per game for Duke. Shot 84% from the free throw line, which is a really big piece for a point guard type. 43% from the 3-point line, 47% from the field, and his assist to turnover ratio really, really strong. Average 3.3 assists per game to just 1.4 turnovers per game. So he's very efficient, smart player, loves basketball. And we had this in the interview. I don't want to spoil all the interview, but he was talking about the guards on this team next year, and talking about, of course, VJ Edgecombe and Rob Wright and Langston Love and Jaden Nunn, and those 5 guards together. Man, if they can really dial in the chemistry, those 5 guards could be as good or better than any backcourt in America next season.
Yeah, again, excited to have him here and kind of join, like you said, that great group of guards. Baylor seems like it's developing a little bit of tradition with that backcourt. I know back in the day, it seemed like it was more the forward or center position with people like Epe Udoh and Torian Prince and Quincy Acey, Quincy Miller, all those guys. But now it seems like it's more guard oriented. Like that's where Baylor's strength is. That's kind of where, the bread is buttered, and he definitely joins in that. Justin, I think he could have a great year too. I mean, maybe more true point guard numbers this year, more assists, that kind of thing, because he's going to have a great cast around him. I think it's exciting. And I know it sounds like he's very excited about coming here and playing for Scott, playing for the Bears. So very cool. Welcome him to Waco.
Yeah, no, we got our backcourt really complete at this point. It's the front court, and I know the coaches are working the phones and the transfer portal hard, and I'm sure some of the players are trying to help there too. And so it's just a piece where this team will come together, as we said, basically early June. That's when Jeremy will be, moving over to Waco from the DC area. And so that's one of those situations. Early June, that's when you're going to see what this Baylor men's basketball team looks like. As for the women, they picked up a big time transfer. And I'll say, when you think about a transfer, not only is Aaronette Vonleh a terrific player, but she really fills a major need, Jerry. It was very obvious. My wife, she watches some college basketball, but she was even saying this year, Baylor needs some more size down low. And so Aaronette Vonleh at 6'3", a true post, provides every bit of that.
Yeah, I think that had to be number one on the wish list, number one on the shopping list, that kind of thing. I mean, they had to go get, a big girl to fill that role. By the way, I'm very impressed with your pronunciation. Like I didn't really even want to try her full name there like that. Like I wanted to go with Nettie because apparently that's kind of her nickname. But your whole thing, what was Aaronette Vonleh, right?
Yeah, and I got to give kudos to her brother. Okay. Her brother, Noah Vonleh, played at Indiana. Of course, we all know on this podcast, I'm from Michigan. You get tired of hearing about it. But the fact is, Big 10, Big 12 guy, saw him a lot, watched him in the NBA. That's her older brother. Great genetics there. But yeah, Aaronette Vonleh.
I like it. So, yeah, I think when you kind of pair her with the players that are coming back, man, what a perfect fit. I think she is the piece that was kind of missing this last year. They really didn't have that. Like you said, they kind of made do with what they had. Certainly Asia Blackwell is a great rebounder, but I don't think they had that real big presence. And, sometimes when we were going against the bigger teams or teams with bigger players, really struggled. So I think this just kind of adds that piece that, I know Nikki, she's got to be excited to have a player like this and one that's played on this level. I mean, playing at Colorado, playing at Arizona. I mean, she's been on the big stage. So nothing is going to scare her, on this level. So I think it was, again, a big ad. And kind of just like I said about Jeremy, the fact that, she's coming from a really good program. If we remember, Colorado beat LSU at the start of this past year, and she was a big part of that. I think she scored 24 points in that game. So this is a player that, again, has played on that big stage. They made it to the Sweet 16. They actually knocked off Kansas State in the second round in Manhattan. So, she's been there, and I think, here at Baylor, she can maybe take them to even a higher level. This is a team with her joining in, you could see going Elite Eight, Final Four, because I think she is kind of that piece that they needed. I'm sure it was one of those deals where the staff was jumping up and down when they got the yes on her.
Yeah, I saw her hit the portal, and I've watched her play a couple times this season, and instantly I thought, that's a take. That's you got to get her. You got to do whatever it takes to get her. And sure enough, Aaronette Vonleh is now a Baylor Bear. And very interesting, too, she played at Arizona back in the 21-22 season, then transferred to Colorado, played in 22-23 and 23-24. So 2 seasons at Colorado. She'll have 1 year left, a senior, as she played her first season after COVID. So we're getting a true senior here. So we know what a senior is. They play 4 years in college, and that's a senior, and they're done. But her former teams, right, they're moving to the Big 12, and so she'll have an opportunity to face her old teams once more.
Yeah, that is crazy that both of them are joining the Big 12, and she'll get to potentially play against them. I think it's probably got to be an exciting thing for her. Not that, I don't know that those are games where she would circle them on her calendar or anything, but I think it's going to be fun for her to go against those former teams and the fact now that they're in the Big 12. And that was interesting. You said that deal about being a senior. I had kind of forgot how that works. Like, you play 4 years and then you're done. Is this right about the first class that this will be the case? Like, you're not getting a 5th or 6th year unless you've had an injury or something. So she's one of those, in essence, post-COVID that legitimately is a true, 4th year senior, play 4 years and you're done.
Yeah, what a concept, right? I know when we went to school.
Strange.
Well, I'll say though, Jerry, did it take you 4 years, or did it take longer for you to finish that degree up there in Denton, Texas?
Might have taken you longer. It did not take me longer. It took me right at 4 years. Graduated high school. 4 years later, I graduated college.
Okay. Well, yeah.
I'm very smart though. I'm a very sharp, very smart guy. So I was able to do it in 4 years. I'm assuming it probably took you like 6, maybe. Jumping around to different colleges too, or
stop it. Okay.
You were in the transfer portal before there was even a portal.
No, yeah, they hit me on the portal because trying to take me off the radio airwaves. 4 years. That's great. And so really looking forward to getting back to that, what the seniors are. But you look at Aaronette Vonleh's stat line, it's strong. I mean, you got a player here that all Pac-12 selection, 14 points per game, 5 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block per game, 55% from the field, does just about everything, and will also crash the offensive boards. And so I think you think about a player like Ayoka Lee, she can go up against her. It just really, solves a lot of needs. And you think about Bugs and Bella,
those two individuals as like the 3 and the 4. Then you got Sarah Andrews and Jada Walker. Then you got some solid bench players with Jana Van Geitenbeek and Yaya Felder. And I know they're working the portal as well to get some better depth there and a couple new incoming class mates as well. But yeah, you're looking at a team there, women's basketball, that has now solidified itself as a top 10 team. John Rothstein over on the men's side, he's got those early predictions, and obviously the teams are not, full yet, so it's really difficult to predict. But as of right now, he's got Baylor in the top 5 as well on the men's side. So let's just pinch ourselves again. I mean, you're getting players that were at the top level of fellow Power 4 conference schools, all conference selections that are now coming to Baylor and will instantly start. I mean, this is not what every school is getting, but Baylor is not every school. It's one of the best basketball schools in the country.
Yeah, to your point, you're not getting depth here. These are should be step right in and be in the starting lineup and be, maybe one of the best players, if not the best player on that team. So, yeah, I think you're getting proven players. Freshmen are great. They're, and I think you still need to build with freshmen. But, man, when you can get a player like Nettie that's going to be, she's played 3 years at the highest level. Maybe Pac-12 hasn't been the highest level, but she has been on the big stage. So, and Jeremy at Duke, those are players that have played on that highest level. And again, you're not getting depth. You're getting players that should be instant, immediate impact starters.
Yeah, on the women's side, Pac-12 has been really strong, Jerry. But I'll say on the men's side, you're spot on, right? The depth hasn't really been there on the men's side. You get 3-4 teams in the NCAA tournament typically, but the women's side really strong, especially this past year. But the Pac-12 is no longer, right? The Pac-12 doesn't exist after here about a month, and so the Power 4 it is, and Aaronette Vonleh will play her basketball in the Big 12. Hey, side note too. So obviously, Dariana Littlepage Buggs. She does a nice NIL deal endorsement with a company I like, Raid, which protects my house and kills bugs.
Yeah.
I got some of those bugs. I've had bees up in the attic, and I'm sure some of the listeners, particularly in Texas, can relate and understand that. With it being so warm, you get some bees up there. You got to go take care of them. So Bugs had her NIL deal. And then there was some guy named Jeremy Roach that had an NIL deal too. And so I got Roach and Bugs here at Baylor, and Jeremy said he could hook me up with some Raid from my house. But yeah, we should have plenty of Raid around these parts here in Waco, Texas soon.
Yeah, we should have no bug problem at all, like other than Dariana Littlepage bugs. But that's pretty cool. Both of them, being kind of associated with that name. So that'll be fun. Jeremy has that kind of built in. So that'll be great for him and fun for him to be around. Sounds like he's going to be just a fun one to deal with and talk with in media sessions and stuff for Baylor Plus. So I think he's a great addition to the family.
Yeah, we got to get him mixing some music. But yes, we'll get a photo of those two when they get on campus. But Roach and Bugs, that sounds like a law firm. Roach and Bugs. They also kill a lot of bugs. Yeah,
see, that's where I think we need to draw that line. Roach and Bugs, yes, but like you said, Raid kills those bugs. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited to have both of them though.
Yeah, it's a small little storyline that's like, really, these two, and they just come together, and it's very a lot of coincidence going on there. Okay, well, what's not coincidence is both our tennis teams making the NCAA tournament. You got to earn these bids, Jerry, and we'll start with the men since their selection show was first. They received their 26th consecutive NCAA tournament bid. What do you make of their draw as they will stay in state and play down in College Station beginning on Friday?
I think it's kind of what they expected, Justin, honestly. As Michael said, I think this is his 7th year in the tournament, and this would be the 3rd time that they've played A&M. Seems like either we go there, they come here. So it's pretty common for that to happen. And honestly, when you look at the draw and kind of where they're playing, and, certainly San Diego is a really good team, but you're playing kind of in your backyard in conditions that you're used to on courts that you've played on. So I think as, essentially a 3 seed in a regional, you couldn't have asked for a better situation than what you're getting in College Station. San Diego, they're 22-3. But they haven't played a great schedule. It was kind of as Michael said in the interviews the other day, it's kind of the opposite of Baylor. Baylor plays an unbelievable schedule. It was like he was talking about when the schedule or when the draw was being released. It's like, yeah, I've played that one. I've played that one. I've played that one. So, I think the fact that Baylor has played the schedule that it has, maybe occasionally you lose a little confidence. But when I think back to the Big 12 and the Big 12 tournament, and you're right there in it with TCU, you win the doubles point, you're in several singles matches. So you're right in there with a top 5 team. I think it's a team that has to be playing with some confidence. And they've had 2 weeks to prepare since then. So I think you're going to see Baylor at its best in this tournament. And, I would say even against A&M. A&M, I believe, is the 15 seed. And Baylor's used to playing them. So I think when Baylor is playing at its best, it can beat a team like A&M. And I know that A&M did not finish that well. So, I don't know that the men could have asked for a better draw than what they got.
Jerry, looking at UC San Diego and looking at San Diego, their team, I'll tell you what, 22-3. You're right about, hey, just in their conference and where they're at, in the WCC, they're not going to have as strong a teams, but they did play a fair amount of Big 12 teams. And when you think about next season's Big 12 schedule, when you factor in Arizona and Arizona State, they also played Utah, played Oklahoma State. They were 6-0 against those teams, 6-0 against the future Big 12. The only Big 12 team they played that they didn't beat this past season, Oklahoma. And so this is a team that I think definitely it's going to come, and NCAA tournament tennis, we've seen this many times, Jerry. That doubles point looms really important. I know it's the first point, but it is a critical point as a divider, as a separator. And, this weekend we may see that the doubles point is one of the key reasons why we're able to advance or not advance.
Yeah, and different coaches have different opinions about it, that it's only a point, that it's only one of 7 points that are available. But I agree with you. I mean, when you're talking about teams that are pretty evenly matched, and it may come down to, a third set in the final match on, man, that doubles point looms huge. So if you can start out with a win like they did against TCU, if you can start out with put that point on the board, now you're looking at it and you're going, okay, now we only have to win 3 more. But then on the flip side, if you lose that point, we got to win 4 of these. So yeah, I think it's big, particularly in matches where teams are really close. So I think it's a deal where if Baylor's going to advance, and particularly if they're going to advance out of that, first and second round, I think they're probably going to need to win the doubles point in both matches.
It provides you cushion, right? Just a margin for error, just a little extra breathing room. And I don't know, there's not too many people that like to sit down on a no cushion. Okay, I like the soft seat. So you build some cushion in there for tennis that can help you as you move into the singles and buy you a point there. But it's one of those situations where men's tennis, you think about it. If you're going to get A&M, a team that just barely squeaked in to host as the 15 seed right there on the bubble to host, then you're likely to have a really strong team you'll play in that first round. If you're Baylor, knowing Baylor was 40, you're going to probably play a team that was just on the outside of the bubble to host. And that's exactly what San Diego is, as they're a top 20 team. So on one end, you play a tougher first round matchup, but the second round matchup in terms of seeding is probably as good as you could have asked. And it's one of those situations too, as we move into the future, a lot of times tennis, Jerry, you know this better than me, they try to keep that first weekend regional as much as possible if they can help it.
And so we're going to see a lot of Texas and a lot of Texas A&M in the future. And hopefully those teams are coming to Baylor to play us here. But that situation, you're not going to run away from those teams. The Longhorns, the Aggies, we're going to see them a lot, particularly in tennis. And we'll see that this weekend possibly.
Yeah, and to your point about being familiar with teams and stuff, I didn't realize this until we talked to Coach Woodson the other day. But while they haven't played San Diego was actually here a year ago in January for the kickoff weekend. Baylor didn't wind up playing them because San Diego lost their first match. But Baylor has seen them, and then fast forward into the fall of 23. Baylor actually went to a tournament at San Diego. So they've matched up against some of their players back in the fall. I haven't looked those results up yet, but, again, they're familiar with them, which that's kind of unusual when you haven't played them, but you're pretty familiar with them because of the individual stuff in the fall. And then you actually got a chance to see them here last January of 23.
NCAA tennis, a lot of fun. Of course, Stillwater, Oklahoma is the site of the national championship. And then next season, that site will be Waco, Texas, for the second time in program history, coming back to Waco. Looking forward to that in 2025. It's been about a decade. It will be about a decade since they were here. So that's going to be a busy May next season. As for the women's tennis program, the 25th NCAA tournament selection for them, they're going to head west, and I mean west. They're going all the way out to Stanford, Palo Alto, California. They'll match up against number 31 LSU. Stanford, they're the number 2 seed. They're going to take on UMass. What do you make of this draw, Jerry? Obviously, on paper, a bit more favorable in terms of ranking for their first round matchup compared to the men. But the challenge there is you get a tougher second round going up against the top 2 team.
Yeah, 2 things. Obviously, the women are having to travel farther. That's one thing. But I do think they have probably a better path out of that first round. But then, if you do get to that second round, man, that's just – I'm not going to say it's impossible, but, man, when you're playing the number 2 seed, and Stanford just has all that tradition. They are one of the elite programs in tennis, really on both sides, men and women. I've actually covered an NCAA championship event out there, in Stanford. That's kind of one of those meccas of tennis. So, great opportunity for them to play again on one of the elite courts in the country, collegiate courts. But yeah, I think particularly that first round, if we just looked there, I think they should have a good chance against LSU. I don't know that LSU is significantly, if at all, better than Baylor. So the fact that, you're playing them on a neutral site, I like Baylor's chances of getting through that first round and getting a chance to play, one of, if not, the best teams in the country. Obviously, Baylor has played Oklahoma State, so they know what that kind of looks like. And Stanford, I think, is kind of on that level. Oklahoma State went undefeated, is the number 1 seed overall. And again, Stanford's the number 2 overall seed. So, Baylor has seen that, at least that. It won't surprise them what that looks like.
Baylor, on the women's side, they're going for their 40th all-time win in the NCAA tournament. And they're going to face off against LSU, as you said, Jerry, for the 5th time in program history. First time since 1990. Baylor has yet to beat the Tigers on the women's side, so looking for their first win over LSU women's tennis. The Bears, they are, however, 2-4 all-time against Stanford, last facing the Cardinal in 2011. And last season for Baylor women's tennis, it's kind of a bit of a flip-flop. Last season, they were in the College Station Regional, won the first round against SMU 4-3, then fell to number 2 seeded Texas A&M. So this time they have to travel a little bit, but another opportunity for them. And as you said, on paper, it's pretty tight on paper. 35 for Baylor, 31 for LSU. It should be a toss-up, but man, it'd be great to see both these teams. It'd be great, obviously, to see them march on and get through this weekend, but just to pick up a win on both sides of the NCAA tournament, in a way, that would be a win in and of itself.
Yeah, I think that has to be the goal, Justin, going in. Not that not that you can't win that second match, but I think the goal winning in, and that's the kind of the approach anyway. You take it one match at a time. But I think if both of these teams can get out of that first round and get to the second round, I think that's quite an accomplishment. Certainly not where you want to be eventually. Like you were talking about, Baylor hosts the NCAA championships next year. You want to be there. You want to be, one of those final 16 teams. So, and obviously, Baylor's going to have to get better to do that. But it's out there. And I think the fact that we are hosting next year, that's going to be an attraction for, players that want to be here is, hey, they're hosting the NCAA championships at their courts. I can play on those courts all year, and then I can play the NCAA championships there. So, yeah, I think the big goal this weekend, though, win that first one, and then let's see what happens in round 2.
That'll do it for today's edition of Inside Baylor Sports, a Sport and Story production. Thanks for listening. For Jerry Hill, I'm Justin Hoff. Have a great Thursday, and sick 'em Bears.
Sick 'em Bears.